Welcome inside Manhattan Beach Studios, brought to you by Golden Spoon. I'm Victoria Dennis alongside Meg Burgdorf, and the team joining me just punched their ticket into the 2025 AVP League, Corrine Quiggle and Megan Rice. Welcome inside Grit.
Thank you for having us. We're super excited. This is our first time in the studio. It's super cool.
Thanks. Okay, we're going to just dive into it right off the bat. We're going to start with the single elimination qualifier, which was so gnarly. Then we'll talk about the league itself and the direction, you see it going and all that fun stuff. And we'll wrap up with some world tour fun facts for the fans at home. But single day elim quali.
Yeah. 16 of the best teams.
That was one of the gnarliest tournaments I have ever played in my life. I think when we finished too, I was like, that game, our final game as well, was just a battle back and forth against Devin Newberry and Jaden Whitmarch. And I was like, that was the gnarliest game. Like, truly, that was one of the most intense games. I think we had so much on the line. I mean, it was winner of that game gets their spot in the league. The loser of the game has to go back and try to requalify again. And oh my gosh, both teams, they balled out in that tournament and that game specifically too. But the entire time we were kind of coming back to each other and being like, it's us, and working through that whole single day 16-team draw was insane because every single match mattered, and it's games to 15. They're so quick. They're so fast. Anything can happen. But again, every single one mattered, and then it all came down to the final one.
Yeah, I felt like the seeding in the tournament truly hasn't mattered because those games to 15 are like a real equalizer. It's really coming down to just like a serve and pass battle. And the other thing that I found interesting, like playing in it ourselves and then watching it this past weekend, is I felt like the point swings were almost more than in sets to 21. Like, it didn't matter if teams went down by 3 or 4, even though you think that like in this short format, it's like, oh, they're done. But it was almost like the opposite. I feel like because you can't afford to have that mentality, like people just stayed in it mentally longer, and we definitely felt that with ourselves too.
Yeah. How did this partnership form?
Yeah, we've practiced together a few times. Both of our old partners, I shouldn't call them old, but our past partners, former partners, both lived in Florida. And so I know at the beginning of 2024, we trained together a little bit.
Yeah.
We had obviously played against each other a bunch. And yeah, so at some point we kind of both were figuring out what we wanted to do for this year, and we had trained and we had kind of talked. I know Megan, we had lunch a few times. We were like, yeah, maybe we try this out. It could be really fun. We have had gnarly matches against each other in finals. So
yeah,
definitely.
Corrine, I couldn't beat her in finals, so I decided to join her. And it paid off. It paid off.
There you go. For both of us. Yeah, but very excited. Like, I think it's a really fun partnership and looking forward to the year for sure.
And we didn't know in the beginning of the year really what AVP season held. We knew the league was coming. Some other things were, in the works. But the qualifiers, once that date was set, how did you guys prepare yourselves to go into the potentially 3 qualifying events as a new team?
I think the one thing that was difficult is we're trying to balance like our priorities this year. So Corrine and I we had some practices together, but she also, her frozen points were going to unfreeze for the international stuff. And so it was, oh, shoot, like I need to go.
Leverage them.
She needs to go play with someone else because I had 0 points at the time. So it's like, I'm going to go play some futures. I played one with Macy Jurger in New Zealand. She's been playing in Challengers and Elites with Chloe Lorraine. And so now we're trying to like put the pieces together. But what it led to was a lot of inconsistent practicing, trying to balance multiple partners. And then we basically just had a week and a half before Huntington to like iron out the details. And honestly, I think we were okay with that because we knew that Huntington, while it was a matter of like skill and synergy with your partner, it was going to be a mental win more than anything else. So we just,
I think one of the biggest things too is the week of Huntington, the first league qualifier, we took 2 days of rest before because we were so fatigued. I had come back from 2 weeks in Mexico. She had been training like super hard preseason training. And she had also come back from New Zealand. And I think all of us, we just really wanted to feel fresh because that was the biggest thing. We were like, we don't want to get to game 4 and feel super, super fatigued. I mean, it was inevitable. We still felt fatigued in our 4th match of the day. But I also think our coach, Betsi Flint, played a huge role in getting us ready. I mean, we were doing a lot of live quick drills, focusing on this game to 15. We knew what we wanted. You know, I think she prepped us really, really well for that too.
Yeah. And that was also probably the smartest thing we've done so far was as soon as we knew Betsi was not going to be playing this season and she was pregnant, we were like, please coach us. Please, please, please. And I think that anyone who's either had has had Betsi coach them, I'm going to.
It's okay. You got it. You got it.
Any player who's had Betsi coach them or has played against her just knows how much wealth she has of knowledge of this game, and to have her on our side of the court is just such a gift.
It's huge. Yeah. Megan went up to an LMU alumni game and we were texting before, like, all right, let's see if Betsi will even consider it. Let's see. And then when Megan called me right after, she's like, I think Betsi might be in. We need to get on a phone call with her. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. You know, we've played against each other so many times and she's always just, it's such a mental game. You know, she has such a strong mental game and she knows, like you said, she knows the game so well that I was just, you know, itching to get a little part of that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I had her in college, so I already knew she would be a good fit for us, and it has been. She's been so valuable.
What is the advantage of having a coach in your box versus when you go internationally? You don't have that extra advantage.
Yeah, I think it's that third set of eyes that can kind of see what's happening, and too, she's reminding us with the AVP. They can kind of talk to us on side switches. They can be that voice on the sideline to help us through those moments. So every time we went back to serve receive, you know, Betsi's giving us one single cue and it's just keeping us focused and engaged throughout the entire game. That's something that we try to do for sure when we go internationally. We haven't gone internationally really before together, but I know for myself, I've done a lot of without the coach in games, and it's just trying to do that with your partner. So really making sure that you guys have a clear, open communication. You know, you've I think we did a good job of this too before we started our partnership, talking about what we like, how we want to communicate, how we want to be communicated with, and knowing that like we're always on the same team. So even if we say something and it doesn't come out quite right, like we know we're fighting on the same team. Like we're never fighting with each other. So I think having that like super strong base in communication is huge, so that when we go back and it's tight, we can say like little things to each other, just our little reminders that we know is going to keep us focused.
Yeah, I think that level of trust is like so important, especially in the foundation of a team. And it doesn't matter like in beach volleyball or like indoor basketball. I think like having that level of trust and like being honest and open from the beginning is really hard to do, because you might be honest and open and it's not the right fit, and that's okay, right? Like there's going to be somebody that is. So that's a really big testament on your part for you two as a team to really just like put the cards on the table, and obviously was successful with punching that ticket. Take us back to a match during the qualification where you were like, wow, okay, I think we have a chance to do this, but this game, we really need to buckle down.
I mean, every game felt like that. Like even our first game that we had, it came down, we won 15-13 in the third. Granted, we had a little bit of a lead, but then Amy Ozzie just goes back and whips out like 2 really nice topspin serves that brings them back into the game right there, and plays like one defensive really good ball. So we knew, I think that game was really important for us to know like at any point, I think we had the 14-11 switch. So we were feeling fairly comfortable, as somebody would. And then boom, boom plays, and now they're 13-14, one away to tie it up. And we don't want to go into overtime. So having that as our first game almost kind of set the tone of, we need to handle every single point out here. We can't get comfortable. We can't get complacent. We need to have this urgency for every single point. And then moving on against Zolani and Tegan, again, we knew that game was going to be a battle. And Megan started top spinning. She was finding her groove with her top spins, which came in clutch, especially at the ending.
Saw the highlight.
For 2 aces in the final to to punch our ticket in the league. But yeah, it was just kind of finding our momentum, and I wanted her to be able to go for it. Like, we started finding our groove within the day, and knowing she was feeling her serve. That's great. Like, I wanted her to have the green light for the rest of the day. So I wanted to be that person where we're, setting up certain defensive plays. And yeah, I think we found a really good, comfortable spot with that. That win in the same with not Betsi and Julia Scholes and Lexi Denenberg. And yeah, again, we knew that they were going to be a powerful team, and they now just punched their ticket into the league this past weekend. So yeah, we knew every single game was going to be a battle, and it was just kind of focusing on ourselves and focusing in what we were doing well in the moment.
What are your offensive strategies coming into games to 15 right now?
I think that's something we talked about a lot was playing to win. I think that in sets of 15, you don't get that luxury of like taking 1 point off where you're like, oh, I was like indecisive there. I think it's just committing to whatever you're doing offensively. And you can have aggressive shots too. I'm not saying like come in and swing at every ball, but I think just not taking a play off in terms of the intensity at which you play it, which I think sometimes happens in sets to 21.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like she said, that mental focus that we had throughout these games, by the end of the day, we were both so tired. We both slept horribly that night, just because of like
3 hours of sleep. We were so wired.
Yeah, the adrenaline and everything else that went into the day, but like really the mental focus took such a toll on me. It was crazy. And I felt that in some of the other tournaments that I had played early on, and it was really nice actually that we had tournaments before this.
Right.
We talked about that too, just knowing that we were able to get real competition reps before we went into like a gnarly 16-team single limb qualifier, you lose, you're done sort of situation.
Even if it wasn't necessarily together.
Yeah, still the competition reps were super valuable, especially after I had been off for a year and having that adrenaline and going through those moments already. So definitely, I think, was nice to have. And then being able to calm down. And even though we were so fatigued, we weren't able to sleep. So funny. Yeah.
I think I also said sorry to you maybe 20 times that day because the self-talk on the court was just like even though she knows it, but it's like more to myself like, hey, next play, like this one, next play, this one.
I think
like,
we said the same thing over and over and over again.
I know you know, but
because it's so short the time.
So short.
So you're really trying to have mini timeouts every little moment with yourself and with your partner to stay on the island and sprint.
Yeah, and not let like the points bleed either way. Just trying to stay extremely present is kind of the word we kept coming back to. Is we can be okay with the result either way if we play present, aggressive, and
playing to win.
Playing to win. Yeah.
What's one thing that you've learned from Betsi so far?
One thing? It's so hard to nail down one thing.
There's so many. But I think that one thing that I just always admire her for is she is such a complete player, especially from the service line. She just has every serve in the book. And that's been something since we started working with her where we've been experimenting a ton with our like individual serves. And you just never know what tool you're going to need in the moment. Like this tournament happened to be my topspin, and another tournament, it could be my float or whatever else it is. But I think that's something we've been really focused on is having the serves we're really comfortable with and then working on our like stretch serves. Like what else can we add to our toolbox and take from a level of maybe I'm not that comfortable with it yet to I know in the moment when the time comes, if I pull this out, I'm confident in it now.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think definitely expanding on our serves, definitely mixing it up and knowing within games like that, I float here, where you get the point, I go back. I don't have to do the same thing, being really comfortable at the service line and being able to explore different options and create different scenarios and situations.
Looking at the league structure, is there a city that you would like to team up with or that you're interested in representing?
I mean, I think we'd both love to be LA, the LA launch. We're both South Bay locals. Our families are both here. I think it would be really cool to have that. I know a lot of other volleyball teams live here as well, but Yeah, I think LA launch would be awesome.
I agree. Born and raised in LA, it's hard not to want your like home team.
I love it. So a number of teams are already committed to the league, but there's still some spots open. Who do you think's in the race on the women's side?
I think Megan and Therese, obviously, they came into that tournament as the 1 seed this last weekend. I think they're definitely in the race. They came out into the semifinal. Also, Savvy and Abby, who got a final. Jaden and Devin also have a final. And then Kelly, Chang, and Molly also have a semifinal. All really good teams, super talented teams. I think it's going to be a tight race. And I think in Huntington, it's definitely, I think the seeding is going to matter a lot more with it being a single elimination tournament and that one being one of the tournaments that has to count in your league qualification for points. So again, like any of these teams could win it. It could come down to those 2 points differential. So all those 1 extra games, like those 2 final appearances could make a big difference. So it's definitely going to come down to the wire here.
Tight. And that's just a testament to what NCAA is doing and what the junior beach clubs are doing. Do you guys have any takeaways from playing in the college side and transferring that into the pros?
Yeah, I just think that the level is so deep in the US. I mean, I even saw it this weekend and 2 weekends ago where the first round games, a ton of them are going to 3 on the women's side because there's just so much talent. And I think the girls coming into college, even the girls in high school, are doing phenomenally. And I think that we've kind of talked about it, like iron sharpens iron. Like the higher the level goes, and the more these girls are coming into college and able to graduate and come onto the pro tour, it's just going to keep raising the level of the U.S. But specific takeaways, again, I think it just instilled like a very clear structure and work ethic from NCAA into like becoming a pro. Because when I first graduated, it was like 7 years ago now. Oh my God. That's embarrassing. No, there wasn't a whole lot of structure. And so I was lucky enough to have like partners that could help me with that too. And now USA is starting to have this developmental program, but we had to really figure it out for ourselves and really tried to how to run it like a professional, like as professional as we could, hiring a coach, making sure we were in the gym, and it falls all on the individual pretty much to set that all up for you. So it was definitely a change when NCAA has that all. You know what you need to do. They give you all the tools, but now you have to go find all the tools and do it yourself and make sure you're accountable. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a direct correlation between the growth at the youth level and filtering that now into the NC2A level. We just covered CCSA champs where Texas beat Florida State to punch their ticket into NC2As. And it's just like the expansion of beach at the NC2A level has been like crazy. Like
It's crazy.
It's insane. Like it's been here for, 10 years now, but anybody can like really win on any given day. Like it doesn't matter who
this
you're
year.
playing with.
This year has been so
And like
exciting.
I think, hot take, but the Final Four this year, like I think 3 out of the 4 teams are not going to be from California.
Wow.
I really do.
Yeah, I
That's
think this
awesome.
is the first year it's starting to bed out, and we're starting to see the direct relationship
Yeah.
into the AVP's qualifiers. I mean, 16 teams, all of them feel like a final matchup, you know?
Yeah, big time. But again, from the collegiate level to the pro level, you played at LMU, Megan, and Corrine, you were at Pepperdine. You went head-to-head in college. Did you ever play against each other in college?
No.
We didn't because I only started playing beach my last 2 years.
Okay.
Corinne just missed me.
I did play against Betsi though my freshman year, her senior year in college, LMU.
That's
versus
epic.
Pepperdine.
That's so epic.
Yeah.
Okay, AVP League structure. What is your take on it thus far? You didn't play last year because you were injured, Corinne. But what's the experience like, coming into it, and what can you expect out of it for the athletes that you talk to and your experience?
I mean, sets to 15 again. And with that, that sense of urgency we talked about is going to be super important. I think it's also a different format in that you're just showing up to play one game that day. You have more time to do film, whereas when you're in like a long format day or tournament, you don't always really get to like sit down and like figure out teams. So I think we're going to see a lot of strategy. I think we're going to see a lot of tough serving, and I think it's going to be a high level of urgency as teams know they just don't have a lot of time.
What makes your team unique? What are a couple things that makes your team really strong in the league?
Yeah, I think that we have a really good base. I also think we have a really great coach. But I think we are able to have a lot of physicality as well as ball control combined into one. I think we both move really well on the court. We're going to be able to run some fun plays and have an aggressive offense. And I think we both feel super comfortable with our defense as well. So I don't know. I feel like we're a well-rounded team, and I'm excited to keep exploring that, and like finding where we really succeed and finding our really good moments of clean, offensive creativity, I guess.
What do you guys think you're going to bring to the table to the men's pair that you team up with? Like,
hopefully some wins.
Some wins. I'd say that, just coming back to, I do think we're a well-rounded team. I think we have a lot of trust in our block defense. But honestly, I think the one thing that we have that I feel really confident in is I feel like we're a very mentally tough team. There's not a lot of quit in either of us, and I feel like that's where Corrine and I really align, and that's something that when we were going into this partnership, I was like, I know that this is going to be a match for this reason. And so I think just leaning on that going into the league.
Yeah, I love that.
What's a defensive piece of advice for somebody that's an up-and-comer or maybe plays in an adult league or is a junior? Key to success playing defense, Corrine, in the backcourt, and then Megan, to you, blocking-wise.
I would say, a big thing for me right now is like exploring different ways, but definitely being balanced. If I'm balanced, I can go either direction, and I'm ready to move, and I'm also ready to dig a hard-driven hit. So being comfortable and being able to find your balance no matter what situation you're in is a huge help for me defensively.
I think that as a blocker, you think like, oh, you're just doing one thing up there. I think that the best blockers, what they're good at and what I try to emulate watching some of the best blockers in the world is diversity in what you're showing your hitters. And then also, obviously, go with your calls when it makes sense. But I think where I get a lot of my blocks is allowing myself the ability to read my hitter and really watch what's happening and not just be a bystander.
Yeah, I love that. And it's really important too, like as a blocker, to be a strong server because you're not going to make a lot of like transition digs to convert play. So like for me, it's like, okay, where can I level up and like help my buddy out? Like it would be from the service line. I don't know if you feel that way.
Sure, I think the best, defense is a really good offense, and serving's a great opportunity for that. I think, especially at the level that teams we play side out, it's well worth some risk from the service line, and I think that's something that, again, we're trying to upgrade as we go into the league.
Yeah, I think it's like very much high risk, high reward. Like obviously at the service line, like ace or miss, because like if you serve an easy ball, it's free ball. Like you have to be aggressive from the get-go. And we had Logan and Hagen on prior, and like Hagen was ripping serves. And I think that really helped in them solidifying their spot. But we also talked about like the flow of the game and calling timeouts and
it's a shorter. And I liked Logan's point. So on the men's side, at least, because men's indoor, men's beach, you just see tons of service errors. You're like, okay, risk reward. We were talking about that. But with 15 points, Logan was saying, it's better to keep the ball in sometimes, get the defensive look, defensive read, because if you're making errors, you're not picking up that information that you need maybe in the new middle tiny part of the match or set 2 or even set 3. Do you guys find that on the women's game with the 15-point lens that you have to be a little bit less error?
I think I'd say yes as a surface level answer, but I think that's why we found a good balance where Megan felt really comfortable with her serves, and I was like, you go for it. You have the green light. When I'm back there serving and when you're already up, that's when we're going to make sure that ball's going in and we're finding those defensive plays and kind of gathering that information and being able to balance out like that. And there might be other days where, I might be feeling a little bit more and I'm taking a little bit more risk or trying to find, there's still an intention with my serves, even though there were there were get it in first, but I was also, trying to find space, trying to set up our defense. Like, what do we want to run out of this? I'm going to push this person out there. And hopefully we're starting to create certain situations for ourselves. So there's definitely part of it where we also trust our defense. I think we have a really good defensive system. Megan's a massive block out there, and I'd like to think that I can dig most balls that go around her. So I think also in those moments being like, we can trust our defense. We're going to make a big play here. We can be super, aggressively offensive in transition and terminal. So also using those moments, but it's kind of feeling it out and knowing where we're both at and having that communication where she's like, I'm feeling it. And I'm like, you green light. Absolutely. Like, you can go for it at any point, and just keeping those conversations going throughout the match.
I think a big part of team strategy is being really good about communicating where are we at right now and finding a way to win with where you are in the present moment. Because sometimes like things that you can rely on just aren't really coming to fruition. But so maybe something else is really working effectively. So I feel like if you just talk through it, that gives you your best chance at winning on that day.
I love it. What's something I always like to say that, athletes are more than your sport and you have other interests outside the sport of beach volleyball. So what's one thing that a fan may not know about you outside of beach volleyball, whether it's like you love to go and like dance or maybe surfing or you like cooking?
I have so many other interests. I also go on all kinds of side quests all the time. Currently, I'm trying to learn how to kip, but that's completely... Kip, like a gymnastics. I read like crazy.
Oh, yeah. We're in a book club together.
I was in a book club too. It just disbanded. We'll talk after.
Yeah. I've also learning German. So I've had I think it's 1,800 and something days on Duolingo as
your boyfriend.
Austrian. Yeah. So learning German, I'm now in intermediate B1 to B2 level. So I can be conversational. I can understand most things. So that's something that I work on that every day.
So fun.
Yeah. I'd say I spend a majority of my free time either coaching. I coach indoor volleyball still at Surfside Volleyball Club.
I see you out there. I'm with SCVC. We share court time together.
Oh yeah, at Velo.
Yep.
So I've been doing that a lot. I also work part-time during the day, doing billing for a consulting company whose main client is a law firm. And then in my actual little bit of free time, I love reading. I love spending time with my dogs.
Did you read the Fourth Wing series?
Yeah, girl.
But I haven't read on next term yet.
I just gotta check in. I don't know.
Making sure. And I love reading.
Most of it is, yeah. But not our book club. Our book club, we have serious reads.
It's our chance to explore. Our first book was a thriller. Our second book was a World War II, and now we're reading a Greek mythology book.
Wow.
So we're really
I'm in the gamut.
Bouncing around.
That was different than my book club because we kind of just stuck on the Fourth Wing. Gotcha. And then what's the one that Blake Lively, the movie just came out?
It Ends With Us.
It Ends With Us.
That was my first book that got me into reading again, actually.
Same.
And then I never stopped. Just spiraled.
Yep. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's so much fun. World Tour. Are you guys playing on it this year?
Yes. We're going to Narseca actually this weekend. So we'll leave to Cuba on Wednesday. Yeah. And then we have another tournament in Dominican Republic right after Huntington Beach Open.
So
and
we'll go Cuba, Huntington, Dominican, and then possibly first league event, depending on what team we get.
And then hopefully we'll know our schedule for the league and be able to plan around our league events to go internationally and start competing.
When do we think we're going to find out from AVP about?
Definitely after Huntington.
Okay.
Yeah. After Huntington Beach Open. And then once all the teams are set, they'll start filtering in for sure.
Do you think that they'll ever have a true NFL draft and a manager of a city drafts the athletes?
I think that that's their intention at some point, is to where they can start. I don't know this for sure. This is just my take on it. I think that they do want to have managers owning teams and then drafting them, I assume, into those teams. So I don't know. I think that was part of the initial thought, but I don't know. It could be happening.
Yeah, would be an exciting way of doing it.
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great to have like the collegiate, instead of 5 pairs, you have 3, and you draft like 8 women. So if somebody has to leave, and you can redistribute your partnerships or pairings. Like,
It would be interesting.
I think that there's you definitely need a multi-year plan, but
Yes.
I think it's a good transition to start something. I think everyone wants to like sprint with, hey, what's the full concept?
Right.
But it's a pair sport, and now looking to bring in that team component. And you guys are going to piggyback with a men's team now, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I really
Going back to your college days of
I
here's
know
a team.
where you are almost reliant a little bit on the other people, and it being a guys team is just so different. I'm excited for that part of it. I'm also just curious to see how that's going to feel and how that's going to go. But yeah, there's a lot of good guys. The guys side is also super gnarly, so we'll see.
Yeah, who do you think has the best shot on the men's side? Who would you expect or would like to see qualify on the men's side?
I think it's impressive that Sean Cook and Brian Miller have been in the finals twice. I think people really sleep on Brian. He is such a big block and like very talented hands up there. I was like impressed by his play both tournaments. And with 2 final finishes, I think Huntington has to count for one of them. But that's a really good showing.
If they can show up in Huntington, I feel like it would be hard for them not to get.
Yeah, another team is Avery Jost and Wyatt Harrison, who've had 2 semifinal finishes. They've been playing really, really well. So I think there's going to be a lot. The guys side is going to come down to. There's been so many upsets on the guys side. I mean, Evan and Tri had only one tournament, one opportunity sort of to get in there, and now they have Huntington. So I know they're going to try to make a big push there. I don't know. I really don't know for the guys side who the other teams.
I think it's hard to count out like Troy and Theo. I know they haven't had the best showing the last 2, but they're both really talented players, and I think at any moment they could just get hot and just destroy the Huntington bracket.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's ripe for upset.
It is. It's Cinderella story, but it's so meaningful, like really for your career as a professional beach athlete this year to qualify. Like that's how intense it is, and the stress. You guys have the relief. You're sitting here in the golden seat for now, until you get into the league and able to plan.
I mean, we talked about like last year, my partner and I, Brooke Bauer, we were 1 win short of being in the league, and as devastating as that was, we still had a season. This year, it's if you don't qualify for the league, they're doing it over the summer. Like there's the contender series, but it does kind of feel like you're being stripped of your opportunity to compete at the top level and have a really true season. So I feel like
with only 2 heritage events, and then the contender events, league teams can't play in those contender events. So that is like, it definitely feels like you've kind of. I don't know. I would
you don't get to compete against like
the best
teams, and I think that any good player like wants that.
And there's going to be teams that are very high level teams that aren't making it into the league. Like there's going to be teams,
especially on the women's side.
Some real big upside.
Name 5 of those.
I know. Like all those women are all those women's teams are very high level teams.
Yeah,
and
playing international.
I mean, it goes down even further, but yeah, exactly. It's definitely so we are relieved. I do think that we had a great mental tournament to get there. And I'm really proud of the way that we played in that tournament. And I'm excited for the upside that we have now that we know we have a summer.
And can plan.
Plan. Well, and that's it. You're kind of holding to Huntington.
What is planning in beach volleyball?
Does that
walking out this?
We're still not fully able to plan because we don't know what team or what weekends we're going to play. But I have...
At least you have plans happening.
Yes, there's charts. And March, June, July, and August all have tournaments every single weekend right now for us. So we'll see. A few of those will go away with whatever league team we're on. But for now, I've blocked out those 4 months fully.
I have one last.
Absolutely.
One last burning question for me.
Yeah.
You guys, the big theme that I get from you is mentality. And we've talked about it the whole time we've had this conversation. But what do you guys actually do to build that mental resilience? And where do you focus your time to strengthen that?
Did you answer that first?
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious.
I have kind of done a lot. I've worked with a few sports psychs and stuff with USA Volleyball. But I've kind of found a few things that work for me. And that's in-game. There's little cues that I have for myself to try to just keep in the moment. I think our communication was really great in that tournament to keep us in the moment. I mean, every single ball, win or lose, we were going back like, hey, 1 point at a time. This is the point. Like, focus in here. Let's find. I mean, our communication was a lot quicker than that, but it was, the intention was the same. It was always like, all right, this is the point. Like, this is where we are now. This is whatever happened before. We could be up by 5 points. It didn't matter. We were like, everything for this point, sort of, was our mentality. And those games to 15, it's definitely easier to do that, in my opinion. Those games to 21, sometimes you can get a little like slow, like you can lose it for a little bit. But I think finding that, again, our urgency throughout the game. I mean, we just have to make it through like the entire game. Then we can have our rest, kind of find our flow in that game. And then we let it all go. So being able to like get into that rhythm really fast. And there's a few little things and tricks that I have for myself that work really well for myself, like visual cues and stuff that I can find in the game. And that'll kind of help me to get everything else out of my distraction for myself.
What are those visual cues?
So in serve receive, it's for me looking at the ball, finding the ball, and I'll notice, like, especially when things are really happening, that it's really hard for my eyes to stay on the ball. So like once I can kind of comfortably stare at the ball, I know I'm like zoned in a little bit. That's one of them.
I like it.
Yeah, I'd say my process, I feel like, is a little bit more off the court. I think I use some of the same cues that Corrine does. I really try to have great next play focus and not let my emotions sometimes take over like the logic of what's happening, and never letting myself have the feeling of we're out of the match until it's truly over. And I think from a like off the court perspective, leading up to this tournament this month, I think there was a lot more self-talk that went on maybe for me than normal, of just, like telling myself, like, you've put in the work, you've given yourself the best chance to succeed. And something I like to tell myself, and I feel like it helps truly, is like telling myself that I do well under pressure. I show up in big moments. And if you constantly are telling yourself that, I think it does transfer over to your game. Subconsciously.
You definitely show up in big moments.
I mean, not always, but like I think you build a trust with yourself, and can make a deal with yourself. Like if you go for it and it doesn't go your way, you can be okay. And if you don't, like, you're not gonna be happy. So you might as well just go for it.
Yeah. Pressure is a privilege.
Absolutely.
And I think like being able to lean on that is huge. I think that's something I preach to my 17s team at SCVC is pressure is a privilege. Like, not a lot of people get that opportunity, and like establish that confidence with yourself. Like nobody's going to do it for you. Like you're the only person that can give yourself like that grace and like that confidence to like, go out and just get the job done. So I'm really excited to see you guys compete in the league. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank
We're
you,
so
guys.
excited for you.
Yeah. Anything else off the top of your head before we wrap up here?
No, I think we're just super excited for this long season. Like now that we have a season, we're stoked and we're ready to go out and be a part of the AVP League. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, looking forward again to seeing you guys out there. Thanks for coming on the show. And everyone tuning in, thank you for following along. Make sure to like and subscribe. This episode brought to you by Golden Spoon. Keep it gritty out there.
Make that, make that, make that.